Thanks for staying with us. Congress passed a bipartisan bill last week that would allow families of September 11th victims to sue the government of Saudi Arabia despite vocal criticism from the White House. Jim, do you think the White House should be in support of this bill?
You know, this is a tough one. It really is, because on its face, this is legislation that I think makes sense, because it allows these families potentially some closure, and it allows them to face the people that caused part of their harm. But no, I don't think they should. And here's why. I think it opens up the floodgates for other countries to sue us. I think this is the proverbial slippery slope in terms of running down a path where we're going to be sued every other week. And you know, the thing of it is, here's where I am in my world. My guess is we sue Saudi Arabia, they flip us the bird and say, no, we're not paying. They sue us, we pay. So I see nothing but an outflow of money on this.
State of jungle is what they're calling it.
There you go. There you go.
Well, and I think I agree with you, and I think your initial answer was very nuanced. But I think that we have to acknowledge a couple of things. Now, I mean, first of all, I don't necessarily think this notion that it's going to open the floodgates, because the ability to sue a country is a matter of international law. So it's either in place or not in place. We're not really setting a precedent. Countries have certainly been sued before, so if somebody wants to sue us, they certainly could. I think, although I think this bill is a feel-good measure, you know, it was the 15th anniversary of September 11th. We had all this stuff going on around as background to this. Now, I think, however, internationally, and something that we have not done very well as a government, is acknowledge the role that Saudi Arabia played in establishing the terrorist organizations, up to and including Al-Qaeda, that led to the attack on September 11th.
That's because they're our buddy.
They are our buddy. However, they, very much like Pakistan, are our buddy who have set up these organizations to act as proxies in their war against the Shia, initially, the Soviet Union initially, more recently Iran and the Shia. And because we were so beholden to Saudi oil, we played along the game. I don't think we necessarily are in a place anymore, because the vast majority of oil we import in this country, well, first of all, it's not being imported. We produce, between Canada and the United States, we outproduce Saudi Arabia, and we have greater oil reserves. Then what is it that is keeping us in this, I think, very toxic relationship with Saudi Arabia? Saudi Arabia is the chair of the Human Rights Commission. They're one of the few countries in the world that still beheads people and chops off limbs regularly. I think that our relationship with Saudi Arabia taints us as a country.
And look, nobody wants to be on the side not for the 9/11 victims and their families. So it's a sticky situation. But when it comes to what you're saying, you know, if you recall, 15 of the 19 hijackers were from Saudi Arabia. But how do you sue the government? How do you prove that they were behind it?
Well,
they funded it?
Really
that's the point. And there's got to be an international, as Colin stated, there's got to be an international standard in terms of what that looks like. I don't know how you do it. I mean, how do you enforce it? How do you say, Saudi Arabia, you have to pay, without an international standard? I'm just not sure you can.
And at the end of the day, the other question really is, what do you gain from it 15 years later?
Right.
I mean, it's going to be a symbolic thing, and again, as I said, I think it's a feel-good measure, but I think it would just mess more things up. I think that acknowledging the role that the Saudi government and Saudi intelligence played in the lead up to it would be a much better use of our foreign policy than suing the government of Saudi Arabia.
And I think that internally as a country, we need to take care of those families that were impacted by this, just like we take care of families that are impacted by other, you know, casualties of war. I think we need to make sure that they're well cared for, and I don't know that that's happened yet. I know there's been a lot of private investment.
There's been a lot of private investment, but I think you're bringing up a very good point, and this is something that doesn't get discussed very often. Ultimately, it was an attack on the U.S., unlike Pearl Harbor, where the vast majority of the victims were members of the military and already insured. In this particular case, these people had, I mean, some of them may have had life insurance and everything else, but as a country, since it was an attack on our country, since we went out and spent trillions of dollars after in wars that may or may not have had any impact on world terrorism, we should spend what would be a much smaller amount to take care of those families and give them some sort of closure. And it would probably be cheaper than suing Saudi Arabia to get that money anyway.
It would probably be cheaper. So,
well,
I think we've said all we can say
I think
about
we've
that.
said all we can say about that. So next up, we're going to talk about elections, because who doesn't want elections?